Secondhand Therapy is presented by Pony Bear Studios.
Grrr.
Jesus.
That's a bear.
It's not. Hello, little bear cubs. This episode of Secondhand Therapy is sponsored by BetterHelp. And, you know, they want us to tell you the benefits of therapy, but it's kind of the show.
Right?
If you listen to us, you know, we're pro-therapy. You used BetterHelp recently, yes?
I have. I just signed up.
How'd it go?
It's great. I got to pick my own therapist. They have a bunch, there's like 2 or 3 pages of people that I got to choose from. And I just started a few sessions ago.
Nice. Have you used their journal feature?
I have not seen that yet, but I'm excited to because I love a digital journal.
Who doesn't love a digital journal? Yeah, we're excited to have them as a new sponsor. You know, you went to BetterHelp because you were in between insurance.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this and maybe you're in between insurance, maybe you don't have insurance, it's a good resource to start therapy. And if you listen to the show and you've been wanting to get into therapy and you don't really know where to start, BetterHelp's a good option. And they were nice enough to give us a discount code. If you're listening and you want to start with BetterHelp, go to betterhelp.com/secondhandtherapy and you get 10% off your first month. All the info will be in the episode description below. Get in therapy, you know?
It's great. Check it out.
Hello, my little bear cubs, and welcome back
Welcome
to Secondhand Therapy.
Oh, we're glad you're here.
We need to remind you that we are not therapists.
Nope.
We are not experts.
That's right.
This is not a substitute for therapy.
Never.
And this is not professional advice in any way.
Nailed it.
Thank you for being here. We have a guest.
We do. I'm so excited.
We have Sophie Nir joining us remotely from New York City.
New York City, baby.
She is the head of the Abortion Positivity Project, and she's here to talk about all things abortion.
Yes.
We're pro-abortion in this house.
We are.
So we wanted to get someone on here to talk about it that actually knows what they're talking about.
You're welcome.
Yep. Hey, so we have a guest. You already know that. Wherever you're hearing this, Spotify, Apple, whatever, please follow the show. Please leave a 5-star review. If you remember the rules, it's a 5-star review or go fuck your mother. Now.
Be nice.
I was.
Oh, okay.
I'm giving them a choice.
That's true.
You're going to hear some ads.
So many ads.
Leave a 5-star review and then go to Patreon. Because Patreon, you're going to get early episodes. You're going to get ad-free episodes.
That's right.
And then if you're just like, God, I love these guys. The big tattooed one's such a prick, and the other one is he's crying and stuff. I'd like to see more.
I'd like to see him cry more.
We do another podcast together that is not therapy related. It's a lot of fun. A lot of the times it is therapy related.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of stuff on there. It's a good way to support the podcast. So if you like what we're doing, consider joining Patreon. We would appreciate it. Another way to support the podcast, we have merch available. Secondhandtherapypod.com. Emotional support hoodies. It's almost hoodie season, baby.
Hoodie season, baby. And we have the most comfortable hoodies in the game.
The emotional support hoodies and the floral hoodie, it's the same product. Just so thick and cozy.
Yeah.
They almost call that the Lou Bear.
No, nobody calls it that.
The one guy did. And you know what? We're trying to figure out some tie-dye emotional support hoodies. Working on it. No promises. Trying. You can also contact us. All that is in the information below the episode. Here is episode 98 with Sophie Nir. We hope you enjoy it. Hello, my little bear cubs, and welcome back.
Secondhand Therapy.
So we're going to be asking a lot of questions because we are two straight white men. And I would like to put it out there that we do understand it is not your responsibility to educate us, but we're going to be asking a lot of questions.
I love that. I appreciate that. It is not the responsibility of women to educate you. It is my literal job to educate you and anyone about abortion and abortion advocacy. So I'm very, very happy to do it. And I'm really excited to be here.
Beautiful. So, what's why is abortion such a taboo thing? You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a great question, but I'm going to ask it a little differently, which is who does abortion being such a taboo thing benefit?
Okay.
Ooh, I like that.
And when we think about it that way, really see how abortion stigma is eroding abortion access, even though abortion is overwhelmingly popular in America.
Hmm.
Overwhelmingly popular, right? Over 80% of Americans support abortion in at least some cases. So that is like from a polling perspective, that's like an A plus plus, right? And yet we're like in an absolutely terrible national abortion landscape, the worst that we've
Hmm.
been in 52 years. So, what the fuck is one? And two, like, if abortion is such a taboo topic, which obviously it is, that's why we're here, it's what we're talking about. Like,
Hmm.
who is benefiting from that? And it is the very people, the very minority, I should say, who is trying to and very effectively succeeding at undermining abortion access in this country.
Mm. That's an interesting way to look at it.
Thank
I
you.
mean, we've talked about it on this podcast a few times in that we get pushback from who you'd imagine we get pushback from,
Mhm.
but that I mean, abortion isn't or getting rid of abortion isn't about religion or children or life, that it just seems to be about controlling women's bodies.
100%. Yeah. And the second piece of that, that we're really starting to see rise on social media and TikTok specifically, is like controlling women's bodies in order to control women's lives, specifically so that they do not have options other than to settle for whatever a man is willing to give to them.
Mm.
Right.
Mm.
Like we see where this is like the first generation of women who have any sort of choice option in their life at all, right? And I think that like there is a movement, like sort of colloquially referred to as the red pill movement, to convince young men that the reason that their life doesn't look prosperous like their father or their father's generation is the liberation of women. And if we can remove the liberation of women by controlling their bodies, then you will have the kind of wife that you saw growing up, one who does approximately 100% of domestic labor and child rearing and doesn't have freedom, financial, personal, or otherwise, to leave.
Yeah, I think even like the terminology that trad wife is like on the
Mm,
rise and things like that. There's like traditionalism, which is oftentimes linked to religious backgrounds or whatever. But just the idea of traditionalism in general is a
yeah,
big movement that we're seeing in the last few years.
totally. And it's being like resold and repackaged to this younger generation in a different way than we saw it before. And I actually think that like what I would describe as like a younger millennial or Gen Z version of anti abortion extremism really isn't based in religious morality like we were used to growing up.
Yeah, it seems to be more based in misinformation. Like
Yeah.
the numbers of, the big argument that I see coming is or coming from uh, that section or that
Hmm.
group or whatever is the late term abortion numbers and things like that, where
Hmm.
the misinformation is literally like at birth they're killing babies and stuff, and you're like, what do
Yeah.
you even talk? Like the numbers aren't even there. Like this is just straight up misinformation, and they're getting
Yeah.
away with it. How do you combat that? Like, what are you
Yeah.
guys doing to, or is there a way to combat
Yeah.
that?
That's such a good question. And I think you've like really hit the nail on exactly the thing that has like really dominated the abortion conversation around the presidential election last year was exactly that dynamic and narrative. And I will say two things in response to it. The first thing that I will say is that absolutely, you are correct. It is wholly misinformation. The vast majority of abortions later in pregnancy are as a result of a severe surprise medical complication. Only 1% of abortions in America take place after 20 weeks. So it is complete misinformation. The other thing that I will say is that any abortion is completely valid. It is not more moral or more valid to have an abortion in a tragic circumstance than it is to have one because you are pregnant and you don't want to be for any reason at all. So I say, and we ran a campaign around this exact narrative last November, or leading into last November, I would say is the way to combat this is to eliminate the parameters of the conversation entirely by really embracing the language that all abortions are valid. So I don't care what month of pregnancy a person is in. I don't care the reason that they want to access abortion care. If someone is pregnant and does not want to be, there is no reason for the government to force them to be pregnant against their will, period, full stop. I couldn't care less why.
Is that also connected to this abortion is healthcare like movement that's been happening recently? Is that kind of like under that umbrella?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't know that abortion is healthcare is a movement so much as it is just a genuine and true fact. Abortion is very much healthcare. I'll say just I'm very much not a doctor or healthcare provider, but abortion is used as the treatment to treat a wide variety of medical conditions and pregnancy complications. Very wide variety, as well as in for as well as because people do not want to be pregnant, and that is just as valid. So I think abortion is healthcare. Abortion is morally neutral and yet has a tremendously positive impact on our society and the freedom of liberation of women and everyone. Um, and when we talk about abortion positivity, is it okay if I introduce a little bit of abortion positivity?
Please.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so just a little background. I'm going to give what we use as our definition of abortion positivity, but then I'll kind of explain it. So, when we talk about abortion positivity, we say abortion positivity is a strategic framework for understanding abortion without any stigma or judgment. Abortion positivity centers the positive impact of abortion and understands abortion as a social good. So, when we're talking about being a social good, right, that means that it has a net positive impact on society. Abortion saves people's lives in many respects. It provides freedom for women and all people. And we center the positive impact of that and really embrace active and intentional destigmatization through abortion positivity. So, when we say abortion is healthcare, that is a basic fact. And then when we say abortion is a social good, that's when we're talking about the positive impact.
Right. Yeah, I agree that abortion is healthcare. It just seems like that was kind of like the trendy thing. Like I didn't hear that
Oh, for
5
sure.
years ago. And that's
Mm-hmm.
more what I was referencing was just like that idea of that on the rise, that terminology.
Does it resonate with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why they use it.
It doesn't really resonate with me, to be honest.
I will say it doesn't really resonate with me
Yeah.
either. Like it doesn't really resonate with me either. That's why when like I'm talking about abortion, I'll say abortion is freedom. Abortion saves lives, personally.
Yeah. And like,
Can I ask why it doesn't
I don't
resonate
know.
with you?
Why it resonates?
Or why it doesn't? Either one.
Oh,
I mean, abortion's healthcare. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Even if it isn't, like, mind your fucking business. Like, I don't.
yeah.
Fair enough.
For me, it resonates because of the argument that I talked about earlier when they were like, "Oh, well, the misinformation that we're battling." It's like, no, it's healthcare. Shut up. It doesn't matter. Like, this is just as important as any other treatment that anybody else seeks out for anything else that's going on. And so, because of the argument of like, oh, they're trying to do abortions at 1 years old or what, and you're like, you're an
Mhm.
idiot.
I support that.
Yeah,
I've
exactly.
been around some 1-year-olds that
I support abortion all the way up to 8 years old. But
That's a
yeah, but
controversial take.
yeah. But I think that is the counterpoint to that argument, which is like, it's healthcare. Shut up. They are
Yeah.
entitled to it. It is a right. Like, it
I think
doesn't
I
matter.
I, like, fully agree with what both of you said. I think that, like, abortion being healthcare, like, means that it is inherently non-controversial because, like,
Mhm.
healthcare isn't controversial, and
Yes.
also, I definitely believe that, like, I couldn't care less if abortion is, like, healthcare or not. I think, like, anyone gets to do what they want with their own body, like,
Yeah.
right? Tattoos aren't healthcare, but you still should have the right to get one or
Yeah, I
7.
think that's where I get hung up in the abortion is healthcare. Like there are instances where it is. My partner's sister um, had trouble conceiving and was doing IVF, and anyway, had a miscarriage and ended up having to have an abortion procedure for health reasons. Um, that to me, I'm like, that's healthcare. But a person that has decided that took precautions and still became pregnant has decided that they don't want to be pregnant. In
Mhm.
my mind, presently, that doesn't seem like healthcare.
Oh, that's so interesting. Like,
You know what I
I
mean? Like, I think
think
they should be able to do it, but is it? It sounds like it's in my head. It's
yeah,
just a choice. It's not like a healthcare thing. But change. I would love for you to change
I
my mind.
think well, I think that, first of all, I think plenty of healthcare is elective. Um,
Good point.
right, like, if you hurt your shoulder while doing all sorts of preventative measures to not hurt your
Hmm.
shoulder and you hurt your shoulder, right? That's if when you have your shoulder healed, fixed, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, right? Like, I think that that's still healthcare. Also, pregnancy, extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Extremely dangerous. Like, one of the more traumatic things that a person can put their body through.
For sure. That makes
So
sense.
I think it's healthcare. Abortion is healthcare from that perspective too. And also, I 100% agree with you. Couldn't care less if it is or it isn't. It's your body,
Yeah.
and you get to have an abortion for any reason, under any circumstances. And the government should never, ever, ever force someone to be pregnant against their will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agree with that. Do you, either of you, talking to both of you,
Ooh.
do you guys find that there's also a narrative that women are just getting abortions? Like it's a willy-nilly, like easy decision that they make and an easy thing to do. And
Yeah.
it's like getting lunch.
Yes,
I
definitely. I
don't
think
understand that.
so. I think it's the idea of, like, women should be punished for having sex, is sort of the fundamental
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just the hate and the fear that goes along with controlling women. Yeah, because if we allow them to get abortions, then they'll do it every Sunday after brunch, like he said. So why would we allow them to do that? So it's about control, it's about fear, it's about hate, it's all that stuff. It's ugly. It's fucking
Right.
ugly.
And I think we hear language like that from a lot of people who would self-describe as quote unquote pro-choice, right? They would say, I
Mm,
support abortion, but it shouldn't be used like this or whatever. And, like, the fundamental problem of that is when we talk about abortion like that, we are undermining abortion access. And abortion is a social good. Abortion is morally neutral, and we are strategically trying to advance abortion access in this country. So when we talk about abortion like that, we create stigma, we create shame, we create fear, and we are using our own opponent's language, doing them a favor and beating ourselves in our own fight.
that makes sense.
So in a time period we're in where abortion access is getting less and less accessible,
Mhm.
what could we or should we be doing to stop that from happening?
Yeah, so I would say the very first thing that I would ask someone to do would be think about the way that they are talking about abortion, they are thinking about abortion, and they are advocating for abortion, and check within yourself, is the way that I'm talking about abortion aligning with my own goal of having abortion be safe, legal, affordable, accessible, and stigma free, right? Am I talking about abortion in a way that really aligns with the fact that I think abortion is a social good? Or am I so indoctrinated by abortion negative and stigmatizing narratives that I hear in the news and that I've grown up with my whole life that I'm actually undermining my own movement? I think that's the first step.
Do you have any like this is where the educating us comes in. Do you have
Yeah,
any of
happy
those
to.
like key talking points or something that maybe we are saying that we don't know is hurting instead of helping? Like,
Yeah.
are there common things that people say that
For
um,
sure. I mean, the biggest ones is, and you'll never ever ever hear me say this phrase again, but pro-life and pro-choice, right? When we use
Mm.
that language, we are speaking within a stigmatizing and abortion negative framework rather than advancing our own movement. We are like we're staying within the parameter of a broken conversation rather than starting one that might actually work.
so what is the alternative then to saying pro-choice?
So I very proudly say pro abortion, pro abortion access, pro abortion rights. The reason that I don't say pro choice, first of all, the phrase itself, pro choice, was really focus grouped to distance from abortion. And because I think abortion is a tremendously positive social good, I don't feel any need to distance myself from my own vocal support of abortion. Also, the quote unquote pro choice movement has already failed, right? And if I wanted to align myself with a team that had already lost, I would root for the Mets. So,
Or Hillary Clinton,
sure,
you know?
either one.
Yeah.
So like there's so many reasons also like when we talk about quote unquote choice, like there is no choice if we don't have access and we do not have abortion access in this country. So what kind of choice do people actually have if they can't actually get care? So it's really just language that I think doesn't serve the movement. And then in terms of the other one, the opposite word that people like to use, first of all, there is absolutely nothing supportive of life about anti-abortion extremists. They support forced birth. They support the elimination of options and freedoms for women. So I just call them pro forced birth or anti-abortion extremists because that's what they are.
I was going to say we call them cunts, but I didn't know if that was like appropriate.
That
That
works
is,
too.
Oh, lovely. Nailed it.
yeah,
Why
that
not?
is so interesting. I never thought about how it does distance or soften the idea of abortion saying pro-choice before. That makes perfect sense. And it's just, I think
Totally.
it's just because it's just what we've been fed, or I've been fed. You know, I'm 42 years
Of
old. So it was
course.
always just like pro-choice is the term. And so
100%.
it's, yeah, but I can see how the difference there. That's fucking great.
Can
Yeah.
you say more on what you mean by it being a social good?
Ooh, yeah, of course I can. So, a social good is something that positively impacts society. So, when we talk about women having freedom, women having options, people have, like, of course, first of all, I will say people that aren't women have abortions, but also, uh, like cis het men also benefit tremendously from the impact of abortion because if you, for one example of many, but if your wife is going to die or be severely uh, unhealthy if she's not able to access abortion care and she isn't able to access that care, right? Isn't your life extremely negatively impacted? So, when we talk about being a social good, we mean having a positive impact of society, creating freedom, saving lives. Also, we have seen statistically measurably over time the more freedom that people have over their own bodies, the more autonomy, the more they are able to thrive and therefore contribute to society, right? 1973 was a huge turning point for women's liberation, but also in terms of being able to get and keep a job, have a growing career, have a family that is a size that is feasible for them, right? There are so many, and all of these things are really great for society as a whole. So that's really what it means for abortion to be a social good.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What so aside excuse me, aside from trying to change abortions and make them a more positively seen and accepted and becoming a social good,
hmm
outside of that, what is your opinion on what can be done to help women get past the shame of either having had an abortion or making that decision for themselves going forward?
Yeah. So shame is taught, right? I mean, this is a secondhand therapy podcast. We know that shame is taught. So I think that first of all, like if anyone listening to this is like harboring shame around their abortion, I want to say like any choice, any decision that you make for your life is the best one, and you should feel comfortable and empowered in that choice. And I hope you do. And like I have nothing but love for you, and I hope you have nothing but love for yourself. So when we grow up, as we all have, in a society where the only messaging you're ever getting around abortion is so sad, but it should be an option. But it's so sad, but it should be an option, even among the people who are like quote unquote advocating for it, right? Y'all remember the Bill Clinton era, safe, legal, and rare, right? Obviously, if something should be rare, that means that there is something wrong with it. If you get one, you are now in a category of rareness, which we know is wholly untrue. Over 25% of American women get abortions in sometime in their life, right? You are in grand company. So the more we stop spreading, or the less we spread misinformation for the purpose of stigmatization, I think the more people will be liberated from the shame that has been drilled into their heads from a society that hates them.
Yeah, that shame is so potent,
Yeah.
and it just gets
It is.
passed
Well said.
down.
Yeah. And I never even I don't recall the Bill Clinton thing, but yeah, even just hearing the word rare, it like implies it's the exception to the rule,
Totally.
which
And that's
is,
so not the case. Abortion is
yeah, it's
so
kind of gross.
common. Yeah. Yeah. It's really gross. And it's really alienating, very othering. And I think so. Actually, to your original question, like another thing that I hope will be comforting to people who have had abortions and have abortions in the future is you are in such good company. So many people have abortion. It is really have abortions. It's not even. It's barely exciting. It's so standard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually an interesting way to look at it.
Run of the mill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Barely exciting is great.
Barely exciting is such a good way to put it.
That's the new motto for it's
Yeah.
the new bumper sticker I want.
That's a t-shirt. Abortions are barely exciting.
Barely
Yeah.
exciting.
That's
Yeah.
great.
So commonplace. It's barely exciting.
Wow.
So, can we talk about the other part of the abortion couple there? So, as a partner of somebody who has had abortions or this or that, like,
Mhm.
what could or should they be doing or be doing more of, or especially when it comes to the time of abortion and things like that, like, because there's no real checklist or anything, it's just
Totally.
it takes two to tango, and oftentimes I feel like the weight is just left with the woman carrying it.
Mhm.
So what can the partner be doing in those situations, both before and after those situations?
Totally. So I think on the interpersonal level, the best thing that you can do is be clearly and obviously supportive, right? First of all, everything's going to be okay. That's really what matters most in this situation. Everything's going to be okay. And as long as you are there, supportive, affirming her experience, whatever emotional response she's having is an acceptable and appropriate one, and making sure that you are just constantly reassuring her and being there from an interpersonal perspective, I think that's the best thing that you can do. From a more sociological or zeitgeist perspective, now, before you ever get into a situation where you are directly supporting a partner through an abortion, get yourself comfortable with the idea that you are not separate from the national abortion conversation. You are not immune and you are not exempt from the national abortion conversation. Abortion is about you, and you should be participating actively in abortion advocacy, abortion destigmatization, and support of abortion. The more you think, I think like the earlier that we can get men in the mind frame of, this is about me, I have a role to play here in the public support of abortion, I think the better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is a big gap there in discussions with men about abortions,
Mhm.
and because oftentimes I think that gap is just like, well, either what do I do or what does it have to do with me? And in a lot of
Mhm.
those cases, where people just have either that misinformation or haven't had anybody in their friend groups or lives that have experienced it before, and so they're left kind
Right.
of just being like, well, that's kind of her thing or whatever. And so, yeah,
Totally.
how do we bridge that gap?
Yeah, I mean, a woman in your life has experienced an abortion, and if they didn't tell you about it, it's because they don't trust you. But um, as I said, abortion, fairly exciting. Everyone's doing it left and right. It's New York's hottest club. So, um, like, I think assume that it is very close to you, and that it affects you directly, even if you don't see how it's affecting you directly. I promise you it is. And it is your fight too.
Yeah. What's going on over there?
Taking it all in. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, I had a previous partner who had an abortion with one of her previous partners. And I was just, thinking about that when she shared that with me. Like you could tell she was so ashamed still.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry to hear that.
I was like, it's okay, she's dead. But
Oh.
that's a little heavy.
Jesus.
That's true.
Ugh.
And I've never shared this in the podcast, but my partner had an abortion about a year ago. I think it was mine. Yeah, and that was an emotional thing for me. And I could see how emotional and how big of a decision it was for her.
Mhm.
But even just knowing how I was feeling, like I can't understand what she was feeling with it being her body. And I mean, even when you take you strip the layers away and just biologically the way your body or a woman's body responds to being pregnant and those types of things, like
Mhm.
that's a hard thing to override.
Yeah. And
Yeah, just think about that.
well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I do want to say that, like, when we talk about abortion positivity, it is a strategic framework for abortion advocacy. It is not in any way about policing anyone's individual experience or feelings around their own abortion, all of which are absolutely valid. But when you were telling me that, I'm like, thank God she was able to access that care. Because if you're
Yeah.
in that emotional, right? Think about if you were in that emotional state and you were making a decision that for you was hard, right? For many people, it's easy. For many people, it's difficult. I don't assign an emotional response to anyone. But and then to not even be able to access that care or have to travel across state lines or, all of like just overcome any amount of access barriers, financial, personal. It's just like, thank God she was able to, you know, access the care she needed.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that a lot because we were in California at the time, so very accessible. Um but yeah, had it not been like try to throw you in jail for shit like that, which is
Yeah.
so crazy.
Yeah. It's so scary and it's so hateful.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about the people that are having trouble accessing abortions now with all the rollbacks and the rule changes and all those things? Like, what could, I mean, where do they go? What happens with them? Like, is there any information and where can they find it?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So, first of all, you can access abortion care in all 50 states through a medication abortion. There are organizations like Aid Access, Plan C, that will help you to access abortion medication no matter where you live. Um, there are tremendous barriers, right? I mean, the stories that we're seeing out of states with these punitive bans are so insidious, so evil, so horrible. Um, and I mean, what are we seeing? We're seeing like 10-year-olds being forced to give birth. We're seeing people bleeding out. We're seeing people get arrested for having miscarriages, like left and right, um,
Yeah.
which is just absolutely horrendous and tragic. I mean, there's two main ways that people still access abortion care. One is medication abortion, which can be delivered through the mail, and the other is traveling across state lines, which often has to happen in order to receive a procedural abortion. So people are both still able to access care and being absolutely terrorized.
Yeah.
It's really
How
hard.
did you get into this? Like this
Oh,
being your purpose or your thing that's driving you forward?
that's such an interesting question. I mean, I will say like abortion is my great love. Like I love abortion. I love working in the abortion space. Um, my mom was very involved in the more traditional safe, legal, and rare pro-choice movement when I was growing up, and I think that had a tremendous influence on me. But like, I think that I, as a person, since we're doing therapy, I think that I, as a person, am really, really motivated by the liberation of women. Like, I see myself as just a feminist first before absolutely anything, and I feel like for that reason, abortion is just my calling.
Mm.
What does it do for your mental health to be not only hearing kind of what we were just talking about, some of these horrific stories with the rollbacks and things like that, but also just the heart to hearts that you're having and
Mhm.
seeing and listening to with women about abortions and things like that. I mean, it's a environment where your stories are being shared all the time. Now, what does that do for your mental health? And
I would say like I find the one-on-one to be an honor. It's the like lack of cultural change that I think erodes my mental health much more. Like I find it so frustrating to like feel like I'm banging my head up against a wall. Like if I hear someone's story about like a traumatic experience they have having an abortion versus if I'm having a conversation with someone and they're telling me that like we must continue to use the failed language of the quote unquote pro choice movement. Like, I find the second one makes me not want to do this work and wants to make me like curl into a ball and take more Prozac more.
yeah.
Mm.
Like it's like not even the mental toll of the work, it's the frustration of feeling like we're not moving in the right direction in the speed I want to.
Is it stressful or anxiety inducing? I mean, on a personal level, even you're
Mhm,
kind of putting a target on your own back,
mhm,
spearhead this whole thing.
mhm.
Does that weigh on you a lot?
Um, there were years when my lawyers told me that I couldn't go to Texas. So my
Mm.
friends would all go to gymnastics nationals in Texas, and I would stay home. That sucked. Um,
You didn't miss
I
Texas sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
we have great partners in Texas, but their laws are punitive. Let's go with that.
Unreal. Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
nice way to put it. Yeah.
yeah. So I does that weigh on me? I feel very safe. Is that extremely naive? I live in New York.
Mm.
I, you know, privileged, and I feel very lucky to, also the other thing is I'm not a healthcare provider. And what we're seeing is people are really going after healthcare providers in a way that's horrendous and outrageous. Um, but not advocates yet. So I don't know. I can't say that specific thing keeps me up at night, but maybe it should.
Hmm. So what's one, what is the end game?
Mhm.
And two, do you believe it's attainable?
So the end game is seeing the violent end of all abortion stigma and living in a world where abortion is safe, legal, affordable, accessible, and stigma free. I think it's achievable. And I think that the people who are the actual barrier to that creating that world think that they're helping.
People creating that barrier think that they're helping.
Hmm. I think like the primary barrier to like removing abortion stigma is like the quote unquote pro-choice movement. I really believe that. And like obviously they think they're helping. They think that they're advancing abortion access. Obviously, they're not advancing abortion access because access is in like an objectively terrible position. Um, but that I find so frustrating. Like seeing people undermining their own advocacy efforts with their language and with their stigmatization and their abortion negative sentiments, that drives me absolutely mad.
Would you agree that the pro-choice
Hmm.
movement is a liberal agenda?
Is a liberal agenda. Um, I think that it is a liberal agenda in the 90s sense of the word.
What about today? Whose agenda is pro-choice?
Almost no one. I mean, or at least like almost no one with power. Um,
Mm.
is that's really what I mean. Plenty of people identify as pro-choice. I think like when we are, I believe that the goals of the pro-choice movement are just sort of antiquated, and they exist in a pre-Dobbs world, even way before that. And
I don't know what that means. What is pre-Dobbs?
oh, sorry. So the Dobbs decision was the Supreme Court case that ended Roe v. Wade and made abortion not be mandated legal.
Understood. Thank you.
So that's when 3 years ago now, abortion went from being legal nationwide, though still very inaccessible, to illegal in about half the country. So um, I think that, yeah, I think that like that movement just hasn't really risen to the moment, acknowledged the ways that it very clearly hasn't worked, and tried something new. So that's why I'm out here trying something new.
Good for you.
Thanks.
I was wondering if it was a liberal thing because liberals are the worst organized. Like,
Oh,
Like
Oh.
every change they try to implement is
You mean like a capital L liberal?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So yes, in the way that they like to play against themselves,
Liberals love that.
right? Isn't that like the thing?
Yeah.
Love to eat
Just
their own.
Yeah.
I was
It's
thinking. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, like it's so self-defeating, which I feel like seems capital L liberal to me.
yeah.
I was just thinking of, like, we keep talking about abortion in America, but
Mhm.
internationally, how is abortion thought of and looked at on the international level? Like, is America
Yeah.
just behind, like we kind of are in some cultural areas sometimes, or
Every cultural area.
yeah, and everything.
I mean, it depends on like behind who, right? Because there are like countries in this world where if you are found to have had an abortion, you'll be like put to death. Um, and there are also states in this country that are trying to do that. Um,
Yeah.
but there, it really depends. I mean, like in Ireland, abortion was legalized 5 years ago for the first time ever. So, like, I don't think there is really like a global race in the traditional sense. Um, Across Europe, abortion access varies wildly, which is always fascinating to me. Yeah, I think, yeah, they're just unfortunately like there just isn't like a specific rule. I do think, however, that America seems to be uniquely going backwards, right? Like Ireland legalizing abortion for the first time 5 years ago or 7 years ago now. Like that feels very delayed and very antiquated, but we legalized abortion nationally in 1973 and then illegalized it nationally, or we didn't illegalize it nationally, excuse me. We unlegalized it nationally. So, we are going backwards, which is a scary place to be in comparison to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
God, we're always going backwards,
Yeah, for sure.
I
But
hate
like
that shit.
wealthy women pre 1973 would all go to London and access abortion here in the UK because it was legal there.
Wow. That's crazy. Because you can still
We're
smoke on
Mexican.
airplanes and stuff there in that
Totally.
time. So you're just smoking on a plane, going to London to get an abortion. It's
Yeah,
just
I
a
mean, it
wild
sounds chic
idea.
if you think about it like that.
Very
Yeah.
chic. Yeah.
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 Interesting. I'm kind of stuck on like your end game. I don't know if I'm being a realist or a pessimist, but how do you fully remove the stigma?
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, so first of all, like you could totally be a pessimist because I actually think that abortion positivity, despite the name, is sort of a pessimistic movement because it's really fundamentally based in the idea that like no one is good on abortion. Like the quote unquote pro-choice movement that has been sold as like the saviors of abortion are bad on abortion. The people who say they're bad on abortion are bad on abortion. That's everyone. So I don't really think that I think that pessimism has a place here for whatever that's worth. How do you remove abortion stigma? So first of all, the thing that you don't need is the numbers because abortion already has the numbers. Abortion is overwhelmingly popular. That's why and our organization, like when we do trainings, our trainings are all for people who already support abortion, who want to do a better job at it, right? We're not converting anyone who is anti-abortion into someone who is pro-abortion or abortion supportive because we don't need it. One, it won't work, but more importantly, we don't need to because we are already have the numbers. So like that's one thing, right? Like we are starting from a much higher ground than we think we are. So I actually think that, and like maybe this sounds cynical, but I think that what it will take to remove abortion stigma is first and foremost for people to embrace the strategy of abortion positivity, right? It is a strategic movement. And then realize once they embrace the strategy that the abortion negativity and the abortion stigma that they've been taught is not in line with their own values. It's like a therapy process. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like people who, like, we are taught stigma, we are taught shame. If we examine our internalized abortion stigma and think, does this align with my values? Does this align with the world that I am trying to create? Does this align with what I want to see? Poof, gone.
So it sounds like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, especially when you tie it to kind of a therapy process,
Mm-hmm.
then one would need to want to change their mind. No?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
and people want to change their mind when the people around them have already changed their minds, right? It's like a bowling pin. People people have to want to change their mind, but they don't have to want to change their mind for its own sake, right? People can want to change their mind because there is like a new wave that they align with and they want to be like part of the prevailing theory. People can change their mind because or people can want to change their mind because they are exposed to a new way of thinking about something for the very first time. They don't have to like have a deep like desire to seek out this new way of thinking and talking about abortion. If they hear about like they're listening to this podcast and like that's the only time that they ever like think about wanting to change their mind, like that can be enough, right? Like think about the gay pride movement, right? Think about like since like we were in high school, like how much like social acceptance of queerness has changed.
Yeah.
It's a wave. It's like it is a cultural it is like it is a cultural shift and people get sort of wrapped up in it
Yeah.
in
I
a good
was
That
way.
makes sense.
I was thinking earlier about like the shame that gets passed down and is still getting passed down and passed
Mhm.
around. I'm wondering in what circles that is more dominant. Do you think it's with females shaming females, or do you think it's males shaming females? Because I know that
Yeah.
evil white men are in charge of the laws, and we know like where to like that's like the top of the chain, right?
Yeah.
And they're not going to change their minds. They're evil white guys with a lot of money. They don't give a fuck. But
Right.
how do we, in the circles, um, is it more women continuing the shame, or is it men continuing the shame or misinformation that's happening, or do we
That's
know?
such an I mean, that's such an interesting question. I think that there's a difference between like an interpersonal versus a societal viewpoint, if that makes any sense. Like,
Yeah.
I don't actually think that the way that shame is taught is like your mom is like, this is how you feel about abortion. You feel like abortion is shameful. Like, I think it's like the messages that we hear about abortion from men, from women, but like from the media, from television, from like just like random things you hear like from strangers, like headlines, salacious headlines that you see in the news when you're walking by, like or like political political conversation around abortion and the way that like the news media shapes and doesn't push back against stigmatizing conversation in that arena. So I don't think that I just don't think it comes from like one individual person. I do think that like the quote unquote pro choice movement is very, very, very much dominated by like specifically like white women from the like safe, legal, and rare type era.
Mm, yeah,
So
that makes
there's
sense.
that. But I also think that men, like particularly men who would self-identify as quote unquote pro-choice, have like largely removed themselves from abortion conversation.
Why do you think that is?
I think there's multiple reasons. I think partially it's because they feel like it's not for them, which I think that's really sad. Like I think that like there is like a message of like it's not about you, so you should stay out of it, and it is about you, so you should like lean into it. Um, and and I think it comes from both sides, right? I think like men are receiving this message, and I also think that like men are like a contentious issue that I don't have to weigh in on. Slay, like great.
Yeah.
Like I'm happy to take the pass. Um, and like like I think a lot of men just like really don't see what it has to do with them, and
There's also kind of an idea that men aren't allowed to have an opinion on abortion.
totally.
Is that true?
Oh, absolutely not. Men are, I would say, like we demand that men have a supportive and pro-abortion opinion. Like men must have, must men, excuse me, men must support abortion. Like it is an absolute imperative.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting around to is how do we get more men active in the movement or talking about abortion? Because it's like, it seems like that is a big disconnect. And talking about earlier with what I was talking about earlier with like partners of people that are having abortions. And even if you're
Mhm.
not, like how to advocate in those ways and like how do we get men more invested in the discussion and more comfortable with talking about it and weighing in on it?
Yeah. So abortion is the fundamental tenet of women's freedom. So, like any man who cares about a woman or women in general, whether he knows that she has had or is having an abortion or not, like caring about the freedom of women is, I hope, something that men can really relate to. Um, and also, like, particularly in this political climate, I hope that men feel called to like really fight back against the way that like women and other marginalized people are being targeted. And this is, I think, one of the potential first steps to that. I mean, what do you think? Y'all are men. You're having conversations with men all the time. I'm way more interested in what you have to think. What you
I
think
hate
about it.
talking to men. I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, I've gravitated toward relationships and friendships with women my whole life. I have a really hard time relating to men.
Yeah.
Mm.
What's your question? What do I think about what?
Like how do you think men would be more inclined to engage or activate around abortion access or abortion destigmatization?
I think the majority of men, to I think a point you made earlier on, I think it would need to directly benefit them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It
And
does. Yes, and it
I
does.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but you're
I
I think
think
you're right.
a lot of men are too I'm just stupid. I
Mm,
think most men are too stupid to understand the benefits or the positivity around abortion
mhm,
until their partner gets pregnant and it's a mistake.
mm.
I think before that point, a lot of men just can't see anything else. What do you think? You're a man.
Barely.
It's
Yeah.
true.
I think it's yeah, I think that's true. I think men aren't gonna unfortunately men aren't gonna get involved until it's at their fucking door.
Mhm,
I also think that what you hit on earlier too, talking to you, is the permission that it feels like uh, am I allowed to speak about it or am I allowed to weigh in on this because it is such like a taboo
mhm.
subject in America still that I think a lot of men are just scared to speak up because they don't want to ruffle feathers or they don't like anything else. Like it feels like it's lumped in with you don't talk about politics and religion and money and I think abortion gets lumped into that when you're in social settings, unfortunately. I
Yeah.
think
And that's
men
like the
play it
privilege, I guess.
safe. Yeah, exactly. I think men play it safe because it's not currently affecting them. And even when it does, it still has like this taboo to it. So I think step one is removing the taboo of abortion in
Interesting.
America.
I don't agree with that.
Mm.
Really?
I
Well,
don't.
I
I
come
don't.
from the Midwest too, so like
Yeah.
abortion in the Midwest is A, you don't talk about it, and B, it's like one of the seven deadly sins. You know what I mean? Like it's
7 deadly sins.
yeah, but like
And yet,
it has
everyone's
such a
still having
stigma to
them.
it. Yeah, absolutely, but nobody's talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't think for men it's more of a taboo thing. I think there's a thing in society where amongst men, if one man has a view or opinion that is pro woman, that he's then like a pussy.
Oh, there's absolutely that stigma as well.
Yeah. So I think that's what my mind goes to more than a taboo thing when it comes to men.
Oh yeah, I just come from very conservative area, very small town area, all that stuff, and so like for me, it's still like it's very religious, very all conservative, all those things, and so the
You
taboo
lived
of
in
it
LA for like
is
10 years more recently.
yes, but
Didn't open you up?
for me,
Oh,
yeah,
and I know you. Yeah.
I just mean like what I'm thinking of in a cultural way, I still think of like back home. Because LA is so progressive, New York is so progressive, like,
Mhm.
a lot of places I go are so progressive, but when I think of actual, like, cultural change and, like, what is actually making movements and things like that, I think, like, what's going on back in Ohio and Indiana and these places? Like, what are my friends talking about? How are they feeling? Like, what are people in my hometown feeling? Like, has it reached them yet? I think that's my meter for a lot of social issues is, like, has it reached Ohio yet? And that's kind
Okay.
of my gauge on a national scale because it is so conservative and so religious, and I know those people so well. What?
This is the wrong episode. I'm not going to challenge you on that. So to Sophie's point,
Ooh.
Yeah.
if step one is them wanting to change their mind,
Yeah.
is that a real thing for the people that you know of in your experience in Ohio?
I think like a lot of societal and cultural issues for back home, for me, I tend to give them the pass of ignorance instead of hate. And
Mhm.
so a lot of times, like when it comes to even like, you just use like trans rights for an example. They're like, hey, can trans people use the restroom? And they're like, well, people like I've never met or know anybody who is that. And so the ignorance is like, well, I don't know. And they're like shoving a microphone in their face, and some factory workers like, no. And it's not because they hate trans people, it's because they don't know any trans people. They've never even they've never had to interact with anybody like that. So when it comes to something like abortion, it is so taboo to talk about still in those areas that like when you ask them about it, I don't think it's like a hateful thing or like this is like a damning thing. I think it's just ignorance of like, well, I don't know anybody who's ever had one. Nobody's ever talked to me about it. I don't know anything besides what I'm being told through media and this and that. And so I think step one is changing the narrative of how we talk about it, like what she's saying, how we talk about it in the media and how it's
Mm.
displayed and fighting misinformation. Because these people, I feel, these people that are it hasn't reached yet, when it does reach them, it's so coded in misinformation and stuff that
Yeah.
they
I
honestly
wonder
don't know what to think about it.
I wonder what would happen if someone asked the guy you're talking about, um, do you think that people should be forced by the government to be pregnant and give birth against their will?
Right.
Get him on the phone.
And also like I mean, I'll to push back the tiniest bit. Like we know that abortion is overwhelmingly popular among like essentially all demographics of people. Like Republicans, Democrats, religious people, non-religious people, like still, like we'll look at Florida. Florida, obviously, like
Yeah. Sorry.
sure, you're good. My my parents live there. I know. Like, right, no beacon of progressivism in Florida. And yet, even though the president won the state of Florida, like, overwhelmingly, the abortion referendum in Florida got 57% of the vote, right? So clearly, plenty of people who we would think of as being conservative or like have, whatever traditionally anti-abortion sort of demographics or principles that you'd expect, they're not, right? So like, is the question that like people aren't talking about abortion because they don't support abortion, or are people not realizing that all of their neighbors also support abortion because they're not talking about it?
Exactly. Yeah.
If you want to make like one strategic change, as I said, stop saying pro-choice, start identifying as pro-abortion. Stop using the phrase that the anti-abortion extremists use to identify themselves, and start identifying them as what they are, which is pro-forced birth anti-abortion extremists, right? Also, and this is really important,
Okay.
like, any argument that you have ever heard against abortion can be very easily translated into an argument for forced birth. So if someone ever makes an argument to you against abortion, ask them if they're comfortable with that exact thing, but supporting forced birth. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm
If
playing it in
someone
my
ever
head.
says to you, like, I'm only comfortable with abortion in these certain circumstances, you say, oh, so in other circumstances, you are going to force someone to be pregnant and give birth against their will? And I bet they'll say, oh, no, that's not what I meant. But it is what they meant.
What if they say yes?
I say, what if they say yes?
I
Every
shoot them?
life's a miracle. You know.
Then we don't need them, right? Like, then we
Yeah.
absolutely do not need them. If you are talking to a person who does not believe that like your life or the life of any woman or any person is valuable enough to not force against that, right? Like, if they think that like you or any person is an incubator and not a fully autonomous human, then you don't want them in your life, and we don't need them on our side because we have the numbers.
And we know that.